Hello everybody, I'm presenting this topic 2.5.2 to you from Second Life, which is a virtual world. The focus of this topic is on technology and the way that contemporary technologies are affecting change and affecting what our expectations are in the classroom. So I'm starting here in the virtual world of Second Life because this is a place that is used for education. And while it looks like the future, it also has something to do with the present. And we're actually on the Southern Cross University Island. And you'll see as I scroll out from where I'm standing, I'm actually standing in a lecture theatre that we built that is very similar to a lecture theatre on campus at SCU. And you'll see that I have a board behind me, and I'm actually going to read this quote to you for us to get started. Digital technologies are set to play a major role on the future of education. Education must also play a role in the future of digital technologies. The decisions we make today about education, technology, and technology in education must be informed by a consideration of the long-term social, socio-political, and ecological consequences. In short, what kinds of stories, individual, local, national and global, they'll enable us to write. It's up to us to make sure we shape our technologies as much as they shape us. And given the pace of ongoing technological development, we have to start now. Now that quote's from Pegram in 2009. And we started the topics for this unit talking about 21st century teachers and 21st century learning. And while the focus then wasn't on technology, for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to focus now on technology. When we use the word educational technologies, we're not referring to just digital technology, but the whole range of technology over time that has been used in schools, developed for educational purposes and otherwise. So we take a look at this first image here of the young child with her chalk slate. And the chalk slate board was quite a revolution at the time. It changed the way that certain activities could be done in a classroom situation, as did the chalkboard that has turned into the whiteboard that we had, where you'd use a marker on the board, to what we have now as an interactive whiteboard. If we take that to the step of the child we see today going off to school, there are some similarities, and the difference that I'm looking at here is the actual iPad under the child from today and the chalk slate under the arm of the child of the past, that we still have bags and some sort of uniform, and the child today has a hat. And so the question to always ask is, are we changing the way we're teaching? Are we just putting in place the actual different technology? And if you're interested in actually looking at the history of some of these technologies, I've put a link here in my Prezi to a timeline, or there's lots of different timelines you can come across just by Googling educational technologies, timelines, history of educational technologies. So if we think about today, so 2015, I've used an image here of a laptop, a phone. We've still got a pen and paper. Even, pencil was a type of technology, and paper is a type of technology that again changed the sorts of activities that could occur in the classroom. So again, now we have computers. So a real focus, I guess, in thinking about contemporary classrooms and technology is digital technology, and we call it information communication technology. So we call them ICTs, and you'll hear that term referred to fairly often now throughout your studies if you haven't come across it before. And I'm going to give you an example of the type of ICTs that we have access to now and how that's going to influence you as a classroom teacher. And I'm going to point to personal learning communities. We talked about that a little bit in the previous presentation that I gave, and we've talked about it all through the different topics. It's very important, and it's important for you to continue to grow by using your learning community. Now, because of digital technologies, we're able to have a really broad learning network. It doesn't have to just be the people that you come across, the people who are your peers now, the lecturers that you have now, the staff that you interact with when you go into the school. We're able to access experts all over the world, or just our peers or our colleagues or whoever this is, but they may not be somebody that you ever see face to face, which is a fantastic opening up of the world and its resources to you. So the slide that I've got here, you can see I've put a whole range of possible ways that you might create those networks. And I'm going to give you one example, my personal example. Now, over the last couple of years, I've been using virtual worlds. So I've actually used the world of Second Life and created a network through other academics who are also working in Second Life. Now, because of that, and here's an image of the one on the left is actually World of Warcraft, the one on the right is Second Life. So here I am actually, I went to a conference and I'm meeting other people in the world of Second Life. Here's another image from me actually, somebody was presenting, so I was in the audience listening to them present about work that they were doing in schools. So like any other conference, but it's obviously a very interesting environment that we're in, and we can come together from all over the world from our homes. And then this is an example, this is a screenshot from the Second Life Educators list, which is again, people who are interested in virtual worlds are on a list. We get email updates, people are posting the things that they're doing and interesting things that they've come across. Now, at one point, so this was a few years ago now, there was a posting about animating, and somebody posted about this app called I Can Animate, and probably quite a few of you have heard of this now because it's actually used fairly widely. At the time I hadn't heard of it. I looked it up, and I then asked my own child, who was about 7 or 8 at the time, to try it out because I wanted to see how well it worked with a small child. And the video that I'm about to show you is the 5-second piece that she made using this I Can Animate. Now, I wouldn't have come across that if I hadn't been on that list. I might have come across it eventually, but I was instantly put in touch with this piece of technology that then I could use in my classroom. And if I'd needed to, I could have posted back to the list and I could have asked for help, or I could have shown them what I'd done and shared what I'd done. So this is how the contemporary digital technologies are able to really connect us with people in our field and help us extend our practice. ICTs, apart from being very useful to us as teachers, are also mandated as part of the Australian curriculum and have been mandated in our curriculums for a number of years now because of the importance that they play in our everyday lives and in our future working lives of our students. So I've just put an image here from the Australian curriculum to just show you that ICT capability is embedded in the curriculum. And you'll have started to unpack the curriculum a little bit through what we've been talking about in this unit. And you'll have seen that even no matter what you're teaching, whether you're in primary, early childhood, or if you're in a particular KLA in secondary, it is incumbent on you to add ICT elements into your practice. And here's one of the reasons why it's been mandated that you need to be doing this. And this is also why it will be of benefit to you, because children and adults are infinitely engaged by the use of technology. They're using it in their everyday lives. We are using it in our everyday lives. And so it is somewhat absurd for us to leave it outside of school. So it will be much more useful to you to find ways to incorporate these skills that the children already have to some extent, and seeing how you can extend that and also make them critical thinkers about what it is that they're using. The critical thinking aspect is much the same way that over the last 10 or 15 years we've put into the curriculum that students need to be thinking about media critically, so what they're watching on television, for example. So most of that's ended up in either in media studies, or it's ended up kind of in the English curriculum. So we've got different texts that we expect students to understand, and using technology is one of those texts. So I've given you a table here to look at that's come from a report that was created by there's a government body called ACMA, and they put together reports and they monitor what children are doing, what adults are doing. They're looking at the different use of technology. And I've put the banner here to point to CyberSmart, because CyberSmart is their website that has lots and lots of really great resources to get teachers, students, parents thinking about the safe use of the internet and digital media. The last point that I wanted to make in relation to technologies is thinking about your pedagogy. So we have all this technology that we can use in the classroom, but how are we using it? And there are different frameworks in place for us to rethink our pedagogies. I've put a couple of ideas here about different things that are happening now: game-based learning, using simulations, the real push for making and creating, publishing, sharing and collaborating. So our students are becoming very active in the classroom using the technologies. And this creating and problem solving is really, it's high on our, if we look at Bloom's taxonomy, it's a real key idea about what we should be getting our students to be having as outcomes from their learning, as different from simply being able to retell content. And I've just put a couple of screenshots here of some of the technologies that you might be using for creating, particularly some of the virtual world stuff like Minecraft, Sim on a Stick. Then we've got things like Hopscotch, which is for programming little games and other applications. Prezi, which is this type of presentation software, and Weebly's, which are making web pages. So they're just some of the software that can be used with the hardware. I'm going to conclude by showing you two short clips from Second Life. And I want you to think about what if you could take your students on a flight to the moon, a simulation of a flight to the moon based on a space that was created by NASA. The closest we might ever get is through this type of simulation. What if you could take your students to the trenches of World War I and they could be surrounded by the sounds of bombs and cooking pots and soldiers, and hear stories from people who were there and be dressed in the uniform of the time? And again, if it was created by people who had the historical knowledge and who'd done it as accurately as possible. This is where we're thinking about a different type of pedagogy, the sorts of resources that we can have in our classroom because of technology. And I'll leave you with the quote from Dewey: "If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow." Consider I started this topic presentation in Second Life, but I was talking to you by reading from the board. I finished the presentation by showing you some educational experiences being immersed in the space. Same space, different use.